In this video is graphic content, viewers discretion. Just a little warning, there might be some photos or the video may be disturbing to some people. Hi guys, I'm just going to do a recap on the Amber Guyger case that is set for trial in September. It's been a year nearly. It will be a year nearly in September since the death of Botham Jean. She says that in one of her comments that the door was slightly ajar. But we don't know how that could be possible because they have doors to these apartments where they automatically shut. You know, they're heavy doors. They're like fire doors and they're designed for safety. And they shut by themselves. It's not possible for the doors to be opened by mistake, even slightly, unless there is something by the door stopping the door from shutting. Now, we don't know if there is anything by the door or if he was expecting a guest, because you can't get into these apartments very well. They have security. So we'll see how she's going to answer that question when it comes up in her trial. I put the 911 call up on my last video, and you don't know how many times she says, I thought I was in the wrong apartment. I thought I was in the wrong apartment. Over 19 times. And in the meanwhile, she called 911. Yes, she did. She called 911. And she was panicking, stuttering, couldn't remember nothing. Remember, she's a police officer of 4 years. I don't know how she got so distressed so fast when they are trained in a situation like this that she thought she was in. I don't know how she panicked so much. And we know that she could not remember her zip code. I don't know if she's ever shot anybody or been in this type of situation before, but she sure did panic, and we want to know why she's panicking. Yeah, because in my opinion, she's wrong, and she damn well knows she's wrong. She's in the wrong. She's in the wrong. We'll just speak about the 911 call for just a minute, about what we didn't hear in the 911 call. What we didn't hear was, I don't know if this is all the 911 call, is it everything? Because I did not hear the 911 operator ask her, where did you shoot him? Yeah, she shot 2 times. I did not hear the operator ask her to render help for this man, give him some type of first aid while the police and ambulance are coming. Not once did I hear that. Now, all Amber was concerned about, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. Hey, buddy, but I'm going to lose my job. Now, she never rendered first aid to Botham Jean. We heard in the 911 calls his moaning, But this man was obviously in distress and dying and bleeding and going into shock. His blood pressure would have been going down. She never put pressure to a wound to stop the bleeding. She never rendered no kind of first aid to this man at all. Now, I find that odd. That she didn't even try to do that, or she was making statements to the 911 operator about her job. It was all about her. It was not about this man that she found out was in his own apartment. She said, "Sorry, bud." She said, "Sorry, bud." Now, she should have rendered some kind of assistance to him, and I've never heard that. So as far as I know, she didn't do no first aid. Now, it took a long time for police or ambulance to get there. I say a long time. It was 4 minutes before the police got there. That's not so long. But when a man is bleeding to death, in shock, and needs assistance, nobody was there for him. And she was on the phone, too busy to even think about putting the phone down, putting it on speakerphone very fast or something, and ask for help to save this man's life. She never did. She never did. She was sorry. She was sorry for herself. But I don't know if she shot to kill. But she did shoot him to death. And that is a fact. Before she entered the apartment, there was a big, bright red mat by his door. Oh, yeah. Now, that would have been a red flag right there for her, but obviously it was not. If, like she said, the door was ajar, like she said, if, that is, and that is a very big if. Why didn't she call the cops first? She states that she is off duty, so now she's a citizen. She's not on duty. So maybe she should have called the police and said who she was, and she thinks that there's somebody in her apartment. She never did that. Now, I don't know why. She mentions that she's done a 14-hour shift, and I bet you she's done plenty of 14-hour shifts. She's a cop, for God's sake. She's probably done swing shifts, all kinds of shifts. But anyway, she states that she's done a 14-hour shift and she's tired. Okay, but she's stating all these things to the operator. Meanwhile, rendering no help to this man that is dying. She didn't even try to stop the bleeding in any way, shape, or form. She never called for backup before she entered her apartment. She didn't even see the big bright letters of the apartment that she was in. As she states to the 911 caller, she was asked, where she was, what's the number, what floor are you on, that kind of thing. She kind of says the 4th, and then she kind of says the 3rd. But you know what? I question that one, because if she thought she was on the 4th floor, how did she know she was on the 3rd floor? Before we know, she could have been on the first floor, the second floor, the fifth floor if there was one. How did she say third floor when she was talking to the 911 operator? That's another red flag for me. Why say third floor when she could have been on any floor? So did she know she was on the third floor? There's a red flag. And now I'm questioning that one. That is food for thought, that one. That is, I can't understand that one. Anyway. Like, when did she realize she was on the third floor? Because, like I just said, how did she know she was on the third floor when she knew she wasn't on the fourth floor? Did she go outside the door and look at the door number? When did she do this? While she was on the phone? While Botham Jean was dying and bleeding to death and rendering no help to him whatsoever as being a cop? She should know this. She should know what to do. But she didn't. So, if she knew when she stated she was on the third floor, how did she know? Because she went outside and looked? Because she went outside and looked. But we don't know if she did that. I'm just bringing up some red flags here. But the operator never stopped her and said, you need to do first aid. This is what I'm going to tell you to do. The police are on the way, the ambulance is on the way, but I want you to render him some first aid until they get there. The operator never did that. Now, I'm not blaming the 911 operator, but that is also her job. After she can hear this man moaning, and her job is to ask this person, where is he shot? You need to help this man. You need to do this. You need to do that. While the ambulance is on the way. Now, you don't want to meet this 911 operator. You don't want to dial and she answer it. Just saying. I mean, that's what 911 operators are for there, to render first aid. They have a book and they can read from. And so anyway, I mean, she should have stopped Amber by talking about, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my job. And I need a supervisor. I need all that. Wasted energy. I'm listening to her. And of course, these video of this 911 call was released. And this case has a gag order on it. And information on this case is sealed. So we don't know how these 911 calls got out. But they did, and it's too late now. Because we've all heard them. But this 911 call is a red flag. So we do have them, but that doesn't state everything in the case. But it sure states her state of mind and crying for her job, crying for herself. She's not even fired yet. She's not fired yet. So why is she worrying about losing her job if these acts that truly happened were true? But yes, she did lose her job and she was fired. Thank God. There were neighbors that videoed the event that happened outside the apartment when the police and the ambulance got there. I've seen the videos when this case first happened, and they see her pacing up and down the hallway. She's on the phone, and she's talking to somebody. And she's pacing for about 6 minutes. She's pacing. And she's on the phone worrying about her job, I expect, because she didn't try to save this man's life. No way did she save this man's life. She didn't even render first aid to him. So there. Anyway, and she was seen, crying. Yeah, because she's going to lose her job, her career. There's also another neighbor. I don't know which neighbor it was, but they heard banging. They heard banging, and they say on his door. Now, I don't know whether they looked outside their door or looked through the keyhole and saw her, or just heard somebody banging on somebody's door. But they say that she was banging on his door. Let me in, let me in. And moments later, they heard gunshots. So we don't know if he let her in. Now, why would she be saying, let me in, bang, bang, bang on the door? But we don't know if these witnesses are going to be brought into the court. And whether the lady that videoed some of this will be a witness in the trial. Because apparently the lady that made this video, she went on social media and put the video up and stuff like that. That's what happened. She was harassed, and she was this and she was that. I don't know who she's harassed by or what happened, but she also lost her job. Now, she only put a video out what was happening, like a lot of people do when they have a scene, an accident, or, anything happening involving the police. They get their phones out now, don't they? That's what we do. We get our phones out and we video stuff. And it helps, because if you got video, you can't deny it. We have cameras in our cars. We have cameras on streets and on the freeway to be used as evidence. So, but maybe because it may have jeopardized the case or something, I don't know. But I don't think so, because it was only her walking up and down on the phone crying and whatever she was talking about. So how is that going to hurt the case? I mean, it might not ever be used in the courts. Neither of their statements or hearsay. I guess they might think it's hearsay. Neighbors heard. Well, if they didn't look out and see it with their own eyes, maybe it's hearsay. Because they couldn't prove it was her yelling, let me in. I'm just saying, maybe. That might be the case. There was no search warrant for Amber's apartment, but they had a warrant to search Botham Jean's apartment. Now, why not get a warrant to search Amber's apartment? Why? She's involved. But she had 3 days by herself to do what she wanted to do. And what I mean is, get rid of social media that's on her accounts. Destroy evidence that she feels that will harm her. Clean her home up. I'm just saying, she might not have to clean her home up, but just say, clean her home up and move. She moved out of that apartment building. In 3 days, she was gone. Her bond was set up. 200, 300, something like that. It was very high. And she's out on bond, so somebody, unless her parents are rich, put up the bond. Now, that's a very high bond, and that's why she's out on bond. She was first accused of manslaughter. She was fired from the Dallas police officer and she was charged with manslaughter. But about 4 months or less, she was charged with murder. It was upgraded to murder. So it went from a $200,000 bond to a higher bond because of the murder charges. But she's still out on bond. Now, we'll just talk about her driving into her apartments. There must be video of her driving in and what time she came in, obviously. Now, when you go into the apartments and, you go into this underground parking, they have, I'm not sure how the parking lot is. Maybe it goes round and around like a public parking that we have in our towns. You go in and then you go round and around onto one floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor. But however that works, it has floor numbers on it. Bright numbers. First floor, second floor, third floor, fifth floor. I'm not sure if it has a fifth floor, but it at least goes to the fourth floor. Now, you have to know, these are all red flags because she's missing it. You have to know what floor you're on because there's numbers around. And then when you come in from the parking lot into the hallway to the elevators or something like that, it tells you what floor you're on in bright letters. And then when you get into an elevator, you have to have a key of some kind. They have like a fob key. It's like a key, but it's not a regular key like we would have for, our car doors or anything like that, or apartment doors. These are like fob keys, like hotel keys. For security reasons, maybe, stuff like that. Up-to-date stuff, modern stuff. And when you get into these elevators, you have to use your key. And then you have to press these bright letters that say which floor you want to go to. So if she thought she was on the fourth floor and got whatever floor she was to get into the elevators, because this gets a bit confusing. If you get into an elevator and you're on the fourth floor, so they must only have maybe a couple of floors in the parking lot, because I'm not sure how that parking lot how it's designed. But anyway, when you get into an elevator, you have to press a number, and it has big bright illuminating numbers. So if you want to press 1, 2, 3, 4, then you got to know which floor you're getting off because you've just pressed that number. Who was in the elevator with her that night, that morning? Who was in the elevator with her? We don't know that. Was she on her own? Don't know exactly if she was in the elevator by herself. Okay, but she gets off on the 3rd floor. So did she press the 3rd floor when she should have pressed the 4th floor? That's in question, and that's a red flag also. But no doubt we'll hear it in the trial. Maybe. Depends. Because it has to be used in court. It's part of her plea. You know, I thought I was on the 4th floor. I didn't know it wasn't my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. So we're going to have to hear the events leading up to how she got on that floor. So we'll wait to hear that one. Also, I don't know how she missed. The numbers on the apartment are illuminated too. You can see them. They're bright. So Botham was at 1478. How come she didn't see the number to the apartment and the big red mat outside the door? Would that not be a red flag that this is not your apartment? When she just got off of work, yes, she's tired. She's tired. She just got off of work. Let me tell you, I work 16 hours a day sometimes. I've done plenty of shifts that's long hours. I still know my way home. And I still know which house I live at. Just saying. I don't know what she took a hit of. Just my opinion. Don't know what she took before when she got off of work. But you never know. Just saying. But hopefully they took a drug test on her. And I bet you they didn't. I bet you they didn't. Which they should. They didn't take a drug test on her. But they should have. So maybe they did. I don't know. Also, she doesn't know her zip code to where she lives. She stated she never did give her zip code. The judge to this case is Tammy Kemp. She is the resigning judge to this case, and she has put a gag order on this case and sealed evidence. And the cases that Amber was involved in, a lot of them were drug-related arrests, have been dismissed. The prosecutors have dismissed and filed to dismiss a lot of these cases because she has been charged with murder. And because if they took these cases to trial, she probably would have to be a witness brought in. But then these charges of murder would have to be, would be questioned. And that wouldn't look good on the department. So this is why they're dismissing or have dismissed a lot of cases. 9, and there's 4 at one time, there's another 5. So there's quite a few cases that she was involved in, and they are being dismissed for one reason or another. Because, number one, bringing her in as a witness didn't look good. And she being charged for murder and have an upcoming trial. They wouldn't win, would they? They wouldn't win. And they could win on appeal. So if they ever were served time for that. So that's a little update on the case, and it's coming to trial in September this year. This happened last year. And she is going to be found guilty. She has to be, but that's in my opinion. But we have a jury, and it's up to them. We don't know what evidence is coming in. But this 911 call, she did the right thing by calling 911, but the rest of it, she messed up on. So it doesn't look good for her. It's not going to help her case. So that's a little update and a recap on the case. So guys, let's have your thoughts and opinions on this case and what you think, and maybe you should look this case up and read a little bit about it. I just don't know how she got in the wrong apartment and how she ended up in the wrong apartment, or even how she got in the apartment. It's just odd to me. There was lots of ways that she could have realized that she was not on the right floor at all, not in front of the apartment at all. My God, if she does not have a mat in front of her apartment, but this guy had a big red mat hitting you in the face. It was so bright. She didn't see that? There was rumors that she may have known this man or had talked to him at one time about loud music, but I think that was debunked, and it looks like she didn't know this man at all, but she could have. She could have. We don't know that. We don't know what they got, what their evidence is. Maybe she went up there to warn him. Maybe. We don't know. But anyway, guys, let's have your discussion, and thank you for stopping by.
Guyger told investigators that she went to what she thought was her third-floor apartment. Instead, she went to Jean's fourth-floor apartment directly above hers. Guyger says her door was ajar and she saw a large silhouette inside. After giving verbal commands that were ignored, she fired her handgun twice, striking Botham once in the torso. It wasn't until Guyger turned on the lights and called 911 that she realized she was at the wrong apartment. Attorneys say two witnesses told them details that contradict Guyger's account.
They heard knocking down the hallway, followed by a woman's voice that they believed to be Officer Guyger saying, "Let me in, let me in."
The family's attorneys say one of the witnesses then heard gunshots followed by a man's voice.
What we believe to be the last words of Botham Jean, which was, "Oh my God, why did you do that?"
Allison